Okay, I'm doing this chapter a little bit differently. I'm going to make one video for all of chapter 3. There are a lot of sections, but I didn't choose a whole lot of problems from each section, and it's just very repetitive. The entire chapter is dealing with decimals. So you're adding decimals in one section, subtracting decimals in one section, multiplying in another section, dividing in another section. So it's very repetitive. But the concept in chapter 3 is decimals. I want to start by introducing you to how to round a decimal and decimal place values. So let's look at our notes. Okay, place values. This is just a general little trick for rounding. It says 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. And what that means is the number that you look, and I'm going to explain that in just a minute, if it's 5 or higher, you're going to bump up. But if it's 4 or below, you're just going to keep where you are. So let's talk about place value for one. Okay, here's our decimal right here. The first number after the decimal is the tenths place. I'm going to have to write very small. Okay, that's the tenths with a TH. The second number is the hundredths. HUNDREDTH. Now I'm going to talk about the THs in just a minute. The third place would be your thousandths. The TH is very important. And the fourth place would be your 10,000th. Now again, notice that these have a TH on the end of them. Okay, let's talk about that first. All right, if you are to the right of the decimal, okay, so if you are in this direction, then you're going to end with a TH. So if you, if you hear a TH, you are past the decimal. So notice I have a TH here, a TH here, a TH here, and a TH here. If you have a TH on the end of your number, then you are to the right of the decimal. That's very, very important because we're getting ready to see that it doesn't work the same way if you're in front of the decimal. Okay, so tenth is your first decimal place. Hundredth is your second. Thousandth is your third. 10,000th is your fourth, and it would continue. Okay, let's go on the other side. All right, the first place is your ones. The second place is your tens. The third place, where that 3 is your hundreds. Okay, I'm going to go this direction. This is your thousands. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to write it like this. Thousands. This is your 10,000s. This is your 100,000. That 2 is in the 100,000 position. And the 1 is in the million position. Okay, now notice everything to the left that I just named, million, 100,000, 10,000, 1,000, 100, 10, or ones. None of those have a TH on the end. So if it ends in a TH, you're talking about to the right of the decimal. Okay, so let's look at some examples. The first one, they want us to round the number, purple's fine. They want us to round the number to the nearest 100. Okay, now let me write the number. The number is 1,250,324.3678. First of all, you have to decide where the 100 place is. So let's go back. The 100 place is your 3. So this is your 100 position. Now, this is where people get tripped up. The 3 does not determine what to do. Okay, it's the number before the 3. So what you actually do is you look back at this 2. And again, if it's 5 or above, you're going to shove that 3 forward. If it's 4 or below, you're going to let that 3 go. So since this is below a 4, we are going to let it go. Okay, and that means we do not change the 3. Now watch this. Everything before the 3 stays exactly the same, but everything after the 3 becomes a 0 when you round. So this is how you would properly round that number to the nearest, oh, I'm getting in my next problem, 100. Okay, let's do the next one, the 10th. Okay, let me write the problem again. 1,250,324.3678. Okay, this has the 10th. So it's got the TH, Okay, now let's look at it. This is my 10th place. 3 is my 10th place. But 3 does not get to decide what it needs to do. It's the number after 3 that determines our rounding. So I look after the 3, and it is a 6. Okay, the rule is excuse me, 5 or I need some water. 5 or above, give it a shove. So since 6 is higher than 5, we're going to shove that 3 to the next digit. So it's going to be 1,250,324 point. Okay, 3 is going to get shoved up, and everything after it becomes a 0. When you round, the number after your rounding term becomes a 0. Okay, let's try this one. Let's get down here because I'm running out of room. All right, let me write the number again. 1,250,324.3678. Okay, so 100th. All right, let's look at it. The 100th is the second position. So we're looking at this 6 right here. But again, 6 does not get to decide what it's going to do. You have to look at the next digit afterwards. So we're actually looking at this 7. All right, again, the saying is, if it's 5 or above, you're going to shove that 6. If it's 4 or below, you're going to keep the 6 as it is. So since it's above 5, we need to shove 6 to the next digit. So our answer here, everything before the rounding position stays exactly the same. This becomes a 7, and then everything after becomes a 0. That's very important. You put zeros after the rounding term. All right, we'll do this one last. The nearest 10. Now notice it doesn't have a TH. So we're talking about the number before the decimal place. Remember, if it has a TH, you're talking about after the decimal. If it does not have a TH, you're talking about before. So the tens place is right here. 2 is in the tens place. But 2 doesn't get to decide what it wants to do. We actually look back to this 4. If it's 4 or below, you're going to let it go. So what that means is this is going to stay as a 4, and everything else becomes a 0. Put these zeros at the back. And that is rounded to the nearest 10, not 10th. We did 10th up here. This is tens. All right, I want to quickly remind you about perimeter. We've talked a lot about perimeter in this class already, but perimeter is just the sum of the edges of a figure, or the sum of the sides of a figure. So if you have a square, okay, let's see if I can draw a square. If you have a square, you would just add up all 4 sides. So add up this side, plus this side, plus this side, plus this side, and that would give you your perimeter. If you have a triangle, okay, you would only have 3 sides to add. So you would add 1, 2, 3 sides. Doesn't really matter what the shape is. I could draw something like this. Okay, let's say, well, pretend like that's a right angle. But in this case, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So the perimeter is just the sum of the edges. Again, we've already talked about a lot of the things in this unit. That's why I'm just going to simplify it and make one video. Let's go to number 3. A car gets 253 miles per gallon. How many miles can the car go on 15.5 gallons of gas? So for every gallon, you get 25.3 miles. So what we need to do is we need to multiply 15.3 times 25.3, and that will tell us our total miles. Okay, so we get 25.3 miles per 1 gallon of gas. Well, we have 15.5 gallons of gas. So 15.5 times 25.3, again, I'm going to use my calculator. 15.5 times 25.3 is 392.15. Now, you know Hawks is very persnickety, so make sure you round correctly. It says to round to the nearest 10th. It's got that TH on the back of it, so we know we're talking about to the right of the decimal. This is your 10th place, but what we actually do is look at this 5. If it's 5 or above, you're going to give it a shove. So we're going to shove this number forward, and it'll be 392.15. 0.2 miles. That's our final answer for that one. Number 4, a car travels 238 miles on 16 gallons of gas. How many miles does the car get per gallon? This is almost reversed, so 3 and 4 are almost reversed. So this one, we went a total of 238 miles, and we used 16 gallons. So the question is, how many miles? Miles goes on top because that's what came first. It says miles per gallon. So we have to divide by the gallons. You always follow the order of the words in the problem. So let's see, 238 divided by 16 gives us 14.875. Now let's look at our rounding. We are asked to round to the nearest hundredth. Notice it has the TH. This is my hundredth position, but I actually look at the 5. So since it is a 5 or above, I can shove that 7 to the next digit. So it'll be 14.88 miles per gallon. Miles per gallon. I'm going to write it like that. All right, let's go over to a PEMDAS with decimals. We've talked about PEMDAS, so again, this is just tying it into decimals. Let's make an example. So let's do 3.2 minus 1.6. Let's square that. Let's divide it by 0.5, and let's add 4.1. Okay, so we need to do the parentheses first. The first thing we do is the parentheses. So you're going to take 3.2, this is a simple one, minus 1.6. 1.6 is half of 3.2. So 3.2 minus 1.6 is 1.6. Okay, I'm only going to do one step at a time. You do not want to do all your PEMDAS in one step. That is the biggest mistake. Take it slow, do one step at a time. All right, so we did our parentheses. I'm going to check that. We do have an exponent. I'll check that next. 1.6 squared. We have a squared button on our calculator, so I'll square that. Can't really see. It's going to be 2.56, and then we're going to divide by 0.5, and then we're going to add 4.1. Again, I'm just doing one thing at a time. Okay, next it says multiply or divide from left to right. So we just go from left to right. We do have division right here. So it's 256 divided by 0.5, which is 5.12. And then the only other thing I have possibly left to do is to add. So 5.12 plus 4.1 is 9.22. It didn't specify how to round because I just made that problem up. So 5 plus 4 is 9, and 0.1 plus 0.12 is 0.22. All right, really quick, the last thing I want to go over is how do you write a repeating decimal with a pattern? So for example, 1/3. If you put that in your calculator, let's put it in our calculator so we can visually see it. There it is. It's going to give you a repeating decimal with a pattern, okay? This is actually a rational, oh, sorry, it's supposed to be keep writing 3s. It goes on forever, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And the way that you would write this, depending on how many decimal places they ask for, is you would put a line over that 3. So you put a bar over the 3, and that means that it repeats forever, okay? So a repeating decimal, you put a line over the number that repeats. Let's look at another one. What if we had, well, let's go to the last one because my time's almost up. Writing a decimal as a fraction. So we have 24, let's see, 0.243. Okay, this is the tenth, this is the hundredth, and this is the thousandth. So we would write 243 over 1,000 because this is the thousandth place. And so to convert a decimal to a fraction, you write 243 over the place that the last decimal is in. I'm running out of time. Put that in your calculator, and I'll have another video for you shortly.